Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 10, episode 10 of the 30 most important albums in the history of hard rock and heavy metal. Today we've got a really good one. This is another band from the Detroit, Michigan area. We've had a couple of them so far this month. While we're talking about these 30 albums, these influential albums. Today I almost wasn't going to do this band, although you all know I love this band. But they didn't immediately come to mind because sometimes I tend to think that this band's importance and influence on heavy music was more impactful than maybe in reality it was, just because of my bias and my love for this band. But then, a lot of people started mentioning, well, Peter, you're going to include this band, you have to include this band. I started thinking about it, and then I started remembering, I have been reviewing music now. I've been the journalist for, since the late 90s, and how many times have I mentioned this band when talking about newer bands that have come out in the last decade or two, who have decided to do this kind of retro hard rock thing and a throwback to the 60s and 70s, specifically Scandinavian bands, Swedish bands, that sort of thing. A lot of bands incorporate elements of Grand Funk Railroad in their music. So many have. I've listened to a ton of them. And let's be real. These guys were really big for a while there. And you look back at some of, especially those early albums, and the more I thought about it, it's you know what? Screw it. I'm going to include the Funksters because I just think that their music, that again, a power trio, this is the original incarnation of the band, that incorporated, rhythm and blues and funk and this heavy, raucous garage rock thing. And a lot of bands in their wake, and especially in more recent years, maybe not so much like in the 70s and the 80s, right? But certainly heavy rock music of the last couple decades. A lot of bands have taken that influence of Grand Funk Railroad. And I picked their second album here, which is Grand Funk Railroad Grand Funk, otherwise known as the Red Album, released December 29th, 1969. So right around the time Jimmy and the band of Gypsies were getting ready to play the Fillmore East in New York City for their New Year's Eve festivities, right, that became the Band of Gypsies album. This album was unleashed on the world on Capitol Records, produced by, of course, Terry Knight, who was also their manager, who they later had all sorts of, problems with, but he was the guy who basically took these guys to the moon on those first handful of albums, right? So this, of course, Mark Farner on guitars, lead vocals, keyboards, a little bit of harmonica, Mel Scatcher on bass, and, of course, Don Brewer on drums and vocals. So, long album. Right, this is for the time, this is kind of pushing the boundaries of a single album, because we got basically, this is a 40 plus minute album. That's kind of a lot for a single LP set back in the day. But most of those Grand Funk Railroads were pretty long. These were not like these half hour, 32, 34 minute, records. These were 40, 41, 42 minutes long, the single album releases. Jam-packed with some, really great tracks on here. You got This Thing on the Move. Again, big and heavy and raucous and raw and energetic. That's what the funk were all about back in the day. They would usually throw in maybe a more bluesier, atmospheric, melancholy ballad. This was before they started doing the real radio-friendly stuff, right? This stuff is just in your face, energetic. Like I said, got This Thing on the Move. Got big, fat, distorted bass and guitars. Mark was using all sorts of wacky effects on his guitar. He would have this clean tone, but then he would saturate it with gain, with fuzz, and he was also really good when he would occasionally click on the wah-wah pedal, right? And a great singer, great front man. You got Please Don't Worry, a little more bruisy, it's in the pocket, or bluesy, I say bruisy, bluesy, in the pocket kind of track. You got Highfalutin Woman, another just up-tempo, pretty rock and bluesy piece. You got Mr. Limousine Driver, okay, and then of course you got the mighty In Need, which has plenty of guitar histrionics from Mark Farner. Then you got side 2, which has the kind of melancholy Winter in My Soul. And then the haunting Paranoid, not to be confused with Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Paranoid starts off with this just amazingly effects saturated guitar riff. It's so hit, it's so doomy. Then the whole piece just kind of like moves in this mid-pace kind of dirgy thing, and it's got haunting, all sorts of weird effects and things going on. And it's just a really, really crazy song, perfect for the time, because Paranoid is all about, the horrors of war. Vietnam is going on and all that kind of stuff. Like Grand Funk Railroad were great with kind of like channeling in lyrical content that was all about all the shit that was going on here in the States at the time, both from a political standpoint and from all the wars and all the unrest and all that kind of stuff. So Grand Funk, I think, really, really resonated with the young people of the day, and critics hated them, right? But they sold a lot of records and they packed stadiums in because the youth of the day really, really could connect with their music and with their lyrical content. They were basically, a people's band. That's what they were, and there was no stopping them there. And then, of course, you've got the great cover, one of the greatest covers of all time, of The Animals' Inside Looking Out, which in the hands of Grand Funk Railroad, it becomes this groove-laden, dark, heavy, menacing, proto-metal classic, right? With some great guitar licks from Mark Farner, the throbbing bass, such a great song, and even better live, because as great as the studio version is, you listen to it on either of the two classic era live albums from Grand Funk Railroad, Caught in the Act of the live album, immense, a showstopper every single time. So I had to include this album. Had to, the more I thought about it, the more I had to include Grand Funk somewhere. And while this might be my favorite Grand Funk Railroad album, E Pluribus Funk, I think, usually is the one that gets my nod. But this is the one I think that really cemented Grand Funk as a force to be reckoned with on the then growing heavy rock scene, right? So Grand Funk or the Red Album, there's the guys right there. That is my pick for today. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Tomorrow, I promise, we are moving into 1970. So we are leaving the 60s behind officially now with these last two albums. I had to squeeze the Stooges and Grand Funk Railroad in here. Just had to do it. But tomorrow, we are officially into the 70s. We've got some really cool landmark albums coming up over the next couple days. I think most of them you're probably well familiar with, but it's cool to talk about them nonetheless. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell. We've got the link to our Ko-Fi page below for channel donations, as well as the link to our merch page if you want to get yourself a Sea of Tranquility t-shirt. Got all sorts of different sizes. We got hoodies, we got hats and caps and coffee mugs and stickers and all that kind of stuff. So as well as those cool water bottles, man, which are great. They keep your drink cold forever, for days. Amazing stuff, and they look really great too because they've got the Sea of Tranquility cool. They got the dragonfly, got one with the whales on it, so beautiful looking stuff. So they work really well. They're great for the car, to bring around and keep your drink with you. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you click on that notification bell. So that's important, right? You want to get notified of all of our content because I put out a lot of it because we're here all the damn time. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow morning, as well as throughout the day today for some new product reviews, new albums, all sorts of new stuff coming out. Boy, man, more new live nectar. We've got, what else we've got here? Man, we've got new Doobie Brothers. We've got that Marillion Fugazi box set. It just got in the Jethro Tull Benefit, which I have not even listened to yet, so that's coming. New Joe Bonamassa, all sorts of stuff. So lots to talk about here on the channel in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that and a lot more. I am Pete. See you real soon. Bye-bye.